A man stands in a Los Angeles hotel basement. The year is 1956. 30 people listen. He says he can teach them to walk into wealth, not earn it, walk into it. His name was Neville Goddard. 7 books, 400 lectures, and money kept appearing in all of them. Most teachers today use only one method. Neville Goddard taught 7. This is every one of them, explained. Before we get into the 7 techniques, you need to understand who this man was and why anyone listened to him about money. Neville Lancelot Goddard was born in 1905 on the Caribbean island of Barbados. He was the 4th of 10 children in a poor family of small shopkeepers. His family was not wealthy. They survived. They worked. They saved coins in jars. The kind of family where money was always followed by careful. At 17, Neville left Barbados for New York to become a dancer. He had no contacts, no money, no backup plan. Just an instinct that something was waiting for him in that city. For 10 years he danced. He toured Europe. He performed on Broadway. And he started reading, hungrily, indiscriminately. Anything about why some people walk into the life they want and others stay locked out. And then in 1931, something happened to Neville, something he would talk about for the next 41 years. He met a man named Abdullah. Abdullah was an Ethiopian Jew, an older man, a teacher of esoteric Hebrew and mystical Bible interpretation. He took Neville under his wing for 5 years, met with him almost every day, taught him Hebrew, taught him the Bible as Neville had never seen it before. And on one specific night, Abdullah told Neville something that would become the foundation of every lecture he gave about money. He said, "Neville, you are in Barbados." At that moment, they were standing in New York. It was the middle of winter. Neville had no money for a ticket home. He had wanted to go back to Barbados for years to see his family. And Abdullah simply said, "Assume that you are already there. Sleep tonight as if you were already in Barbados. Wake up there." A few weeks later, Neville was on a ship to Barbados. He had not earned the money. He had not borrowed it. A letter from a brother he had not spoken to in years arrived, with the exact amount needed for passage. That was the first time Neville saw his method work on something concrete, not love, not health, not vague feelings. Money in his hand for a specific purpose. From that night forward, for the next 41 years, Neville taught one thing in different ways, and here is how he taught it about money. Starting with the very first technique he ever spoke about publicly. Technique number 1, the consciousness of being wealthy. This is the foundation. Everything else is built on it. He said something almost too simple to be true. The man who is conscious of being wealthy will achieve wealth. Notice what he did not say. Not the man who works hardest, not the man with the best ideas, not the man who saves the most. He said, the one whose state of consciousness is wealth. The word wealth comes from an older word, whale, which originally meant well-being, not coins, a state, an inner condition. Money is not the goal. Money is the proof that the goal has been reached internally first. If you are conscious of being broke, you produce evidence of being broke. The universe is not a vending machine. It is a mirror that gives you what you are. And here is where most people get this wrong. They think being conscious of wealth means thinking about money all day, repeating affirmations, visualizing piles of cash. Neville said the opposite. He does not think about money constantly. He thinks about it the way a man with a full stomach thinks about food. Almost not at all. The state has already settled. That is the test. If you feel anxious checking your bank account, you are not in the consciousness of wealth. You are in the consciousness of waiting. And the universe will keep handing you reasons to keep waiting. Technique number 2. The I am principle applied to money. This traces back to what Abdullah taught Neville in New York, and it goes back to the Hebrew Bible. In Exodus, Moses stands before the burning bush and asks God what name he should use. The answer comes back in Hebrew as Ehyeh, Ehyeh. Most English Bibles translate that as I am that I am, but the Hebrew is more dynamic. Ehyeh points to becoming. It can mean I am becoming what I am becoming. Neville taught that I am is not just the name of God. It is the name of the creative power inside every human being. Whatever you attach to the words I am, you become. The most common mistake people make with money is what they put after those two words. I am broke. I am behind on rent. I am bad with money. I am the kind of person who never gets ahead. Every one of those statements is a creative act. You are not describing your situation. You are extending it. You are signing your name to it for another day. The technique is to replace every I am statement about money. Not I want to be wealthy, but I am wealthy. Not I will figure it out, but I have figured it out. And then he warned, the inner voice will fight back. It will say, but that is a lie. You are not wealthy. You have $82 in your account. Neville said the answer to that voice is always the same. I am not stating a fact. I am stating an intention. And in the world of imagination, the intention is the seed. If you ever tried to repeat an affirmation and felt like a fraud, that feeling is the exact point where most people quit. It is also the exact point where the work begins. Technique number 3. Feeling is the secret. In 1944, Neville published a small book with that exact title, 50 pages. Everything he had learned in 15 years, condensed into one idea. The idea is this: thought alone does not manifest. Thought wedded to feeling does. You can think about being wealthy all day, repeat the words, write them in a journal. If you do not feel them, nothing happens. Feeling is not the same as emotion. Emotion is what you experience when something happens to you. Feeling is what you generate from the inside, deliberately, as if the thing had already happened. Every night before sleep, sit with the question, not what do I want? The question is, what would it feel like if the money I needed was already in my account? Notice the precision, not generic abundance, the exact amount you need for the exact situation. Felt as if it were already true. Most people skip this step because it requires honesty. You have to know what you actually want, without the inner voice saying, but that is not realistic. The Hebrew word for feeling is connected to the word for knowing. To feel something deeply is to know it as real, and what you know as real is what shows up. A quick pause here. If this is helping you see Neville in a new way, the most useful thing you can do is subscribe and drop a comment. That is how more people find this content. Now back to it. Technique number 4. SATS, the state akin to sleep. This was Neville's most personal method, the one he used himself almost every night for 40 years. SATS stands for the state akin to sleep, the drowsy, almost asleep state, where the conscious mind relaxes, but the imagination is still active. Neville taught that this state is the doorway to the subconscious. What you plant in the subconscious is what shows up. The technique for money has 3 steps. Step 1. Enter the drowsy state. Lie down. Breathe. Let your body relax to the edge of sleep, not full sleep. Step 2. Construct a short scene, just a few seconds. A scene that implies the money has already arrived, not the money itself. The implication of the money. You opening a bank statement and seeing a new balance. A friend congratulating you on something. The feeling of relief when the bill is paid. Step 3. Replay the scene until you fall asleep inside it. Neville was very specific about the kind of scene. Do not see yourself in the scene. Be in the scene. From the first-person perspective, looking through your own eyes, feeling the chair under you, hearing the voice across the table. The scene should be short, 5 seconds, 10 seconds maximum, looped on repeat, like a piece of film running through your mind, until consciousness slips away. Night after night, this builds the inner conviction. And the inner conviction is what the outer world matches. When people ask how long it would take to see results, Neville's answer was almost always the same. As long as it takes you to actually believe it happened. Technique number 5, the revision technique. This one is different. It is not about creating wealth in the future. It is about rewriting financial events that already happened. Every event in your day leaves a residue in your subconscious, not the event itself, your interpretation of it. And that residue, accumulated over years, shapes your future. At night before sleep, he taught a practice. Go back through your day. Find moments where money felt scarce. The moment you checked the account, the bill you opened, the conversation where you felt embarrassed about money, about not being able to afford something. Then, in your imagination, replay the scene, but replay it the way you wish it had gone. You opened the account. Instead of dropping, your stomach was calm. The balance was abundant. You felt nothing because nothing was wrong. Neville called this the pruning shears of revision. cutting away the day's negative impressions before they take root. Most people accumulate years of these impressions, decades of "I cannot afford it," decades of small humiliations around money. Those decades sit in the subconscious like layers of sediment, shaping the present. Revision is how you go back and clean it out, not by denying that the events happened, but by refusing to let your interpretation be the final word. Neville was asked once, in a lecture in 1953, whether revision actually changed the past or just the person doing it. His answer was both. He said, "The past is not fixed. It is a memory, and the memory belongs to you." Technique number 6, mental conversations from the end. This was Neville's favorite for specific manifestations. Money for a particular purpose. A check arriving, a debt cleared, a specific amount in a specific situation. The technique is simple to describe. Almost no one does it correctly. You construct an imaginary conversation with a specific person about a specific outcome after the thing has happened. If you want a job offer, do not imagine asking for the job. Imagine your best friend congratulating you on the job, the conversation that happens after the goal is reached. If you want money for a debt, do not imagine asking for money. Imagine the lender thanking you for the final payment. The conversation after the debt is gone. The subconscious does not distinguish imagined from real, between a vividly imagined conversation and a real one. Have a 5-minute conversation in your head every night. The subconscious treats the underlying reality as already established, and the outer world rearranges itself to match. Use real people you actually know. Hear their actual voices. Use their actual mannerisms. The more specific, the more powerful. Generic strangers do not work. The mind dismisses them as fiction. The conversation should be about you receiving congratulations, or thanks, or relief. Never about you asking. Asking is a state of not having. Receiving congratulations is a state of having already received. Technique number 7, living in the end. This is the master technique. All the others build toward it, and it is the hardest to actually do. Living in the end means walking through your daily life as if the financial outcome you want already happened, not pretending, not role play. Genuinely operating from that assumption. Most people will do this for an evening, get bored and quit, or do it for a few minutes during meditation, then return to lack the moment they open their eyes. The real practice is to maintain the inner state through the entire day, through moments when the bank balance does not match, through moments when bills arrive, when a friend asks you to split a check and your stomach tightens. He taught a question to ask in every moment of doubt. The question was simple. How would the version of me who already has this respond now? Not how would they feel, not how would they think. How would they respond? In their body, in their face, in their next sentence, and then respond that way. Even if it feels like acting, especially if it feels like acting, because the version of you that has the money already exists. In the imaginal world, which Neville taught is more real, the physical world is the shadow of imagination. This technique requires the most discipline and produces the largest results, the fastest, because it is not a 5-minute practice. It is a state of being. When asked how to maintain it through hard moments, Neville's answer was always the same: persistence, not perfection, persistence. You will fall out of this state 1,000 times. The work is to climb back in, faster each time. Now here is what I want you to see. Imagine an actor walking onto a stage to perform a role. He has read the script, he knows the lines, he knows the character's backstory, the costume, the way the character walks. A bad actor stands on stage thinking about the role. He performs the role. He puts on the costume. But underneath, you can still see him. You can see him trying. The audience knows it is acting. A good actor disappears into the role. He stops performing the character. He becomes the character. The line between actor and role disappears. The audience does not see a man playing a king. They see a king. Neville Goddard's entire teaching about money is that line. Most people, when they try to manifest, are bad actors. They put on the costume of wealth. They say the lines. They perform the affirmations. But underneath, they are the same. Still anxious about money. Still waiting for evidence. Neville said the law does not respond to performance. It responds to being. The 7 techniques are not 7 ways to perform better. They are 7 ways to dissolve the line between actor and role, until the costume is no longer a costume, just clothing on your body. The wealth is no longer a goal, it is just the air you breathe. And that is when money stops being something you chase and starts appearing in your life because there is no other state for it. So let us step back and see what we have walked through. 7 techniques, 1 man, 41 years of teaching. The consciousness of being wealthy, the foundation. The inner state that everything else rests on, the I am principle. The 2 words you attach to your sense of self are the most powerful creative tools you have. Feeling is the secret. Thought without conviction is just noise, SATS. The drowsy state where the subconscious receives instructions, revision, cleaning out the day's negative residue, mental conversations from the end, inner dialogues that imply the goal is reached, and living in the end, walking through your day from inside the state of having. 3 things stay with me when I read what Neville taught about money. First, Neville never separated money from consciousness. Asking how to manifest money was like asking how to manifest your shadow. The shadow does not appear because you reached for it. The shadow appears because you exist. Money is the same. It shows up when the inner state already contains it. Second, Neville never promised speed. He promised certainty. If you entered the state of having, the outer world had no choice but to eventually match it. The time depended on how long you could hold the state. And third, the thing that stays with me the most, the same technique that brings money will bring everything else. Not because money is special, because consciousness is. The 7 techniques are 7 doorways into a single state from which everything you actually need walks toward you, on its own, without being chased. 2,000 miles from Barbados, in a Los Angeles hotel basement in 1956. A man without a degree, without a pulpit, without anything, but a story about an Ethiopian Jew who told him he was already home. Said this to a small crowd: imagination creates reality, and nothing in your life, including the money in your account, is exempt from that law. The 7 techniques he taught are still here, still being read, still being practiced, almost 60 years after his death. If this opens something up for you, the biggest thing you can do is subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. That is how this content finds the people it is meant to find. Until next time, walk well.